Hi, this is Scott Erickson with DTG in Tampa, Florida, and welcome to our setup, installation, and demonstration video of the new Canon iPF8400 44-inch printer. DTG is a digital color systems integrator based in Tampa, Florida, specializing in providing input, output, and color management solutions to the photographic, fine art, printing, and pre-press industries. Today we're going to talk about the new 8400, obviously. The 8400 is part of a new class of printers from Canon released in the fall of 2012. The new 6400 24-inch, 6450, the 8400, and then the 9400 60-inch printer. All of these printers basically feature faster print and processing speeds. They also feature a new multi-sensor for increased calibration, accuracy, and consistency. They also feature some new software that comes with the printers, including features like automatic gallery wrap, some new black and white toning and printing, also a new color calibration management console that allows you to link and calibrate basically multiple Canon 400 series printers from a 6450 with an optional built-in spectrophotometer. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unbox the printer and set this up, walk through the process of installing it, and then actually load some paper and do some printing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with the unboxing and setting up of the 8400 printer. Before we get started, I just want to say one more thing. If you haven't purchased the 8400 yet and you're talking to your DTG rep at the time of sale, make sure that you let them know whether or not you need a lift gate or not. The printer will come on a truck ready to unload on a dock. However, if you need the printer to actually come down off of the truck, then you will need a lift gate, and we can arrange for that for a nominal charge. So looking at the printer, basically we've got the straps we've already cut off, which are holding this top on. So what we'll do first is just lift this top up, and then if you look down here towards the bottom, you've got 3 white plugs that will basically just squeeze and pop out and swing out. There's also 3 on the other side. So once we get those 3, we get the top off, just with some help, take this whole portion, just lift straight up and over, and that'll expose all of the printer and the printer parts so you can easily get to them for setup. So this is the printer box with the top actually off of the printer. I want to go ahead and point out, right taped to the top of the stand box, you do have your user guide and the setup and installation guide. So you can pop this open and then actually refer to this while you're going through the video. Down here we've got some more accessories, and then obviously the printer itself. So we're going to go ahead and take the stand box down, go ahead and assemble the stand, and continue on with the installation. Okay, so what we're looking at here on the floor is basically the contents of that stand box. So I'm going to identify each of these pieces. You have a leg here with canister or wheels. You've got another leg. They are marked left and right, and right is as you're standing in front of the printer. The cross brace, another cross brace for the stand, a side cover for one of the legs, and then we've got another one of those. The rest of what you see, these parts, are basically all made up for the basket, for the catch basket for prints to land into. And then you'll see towards the front, we've got some hardware of some bolts as well as some screws. Now, it does include the hardware to actually screw that in and tighten those bolts down. But if you want to make your life easier and have this happen a little bit faster, then you can absolutely use a power drill and then a socket set as well. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started on assembling the stand at this point. And I'll grab some help with that, and then we'll start putting it together. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started and put the legs and the cross braces together. Again, these are marked right and left. We'll start with the smaller or thinner cross brace. These are marked right and left as well. Important to note, we're going to go ahead and take the hollowed out and towards the top, as you see the stands here. Ultimately, that's towards the bottom of the stand. When we insert that on both sides, the cross brace is secured to the legs by 4 of the smaller screws that came in the stand box. And we'll go ahead and take this tool, and then we'll go ahead and screw all 4 over here, all 4 over there. But again, remember, you can use a drill gun if you have the appropriate bit to assemble this as well. All right, so we've got the cross brace, the first cross brace in. We'll just go ahead and flip this over so that we can now go ahead and put the larger one in, or backwards. Are we? Or no? Okay. All right, so it just slides in on top of these metal braces here, and then we're going to take our 4 bolts for this side, 4 bolts for that side, and then use this tool or a socket set if you've got that. We'll go ahead and secure this cross brace to the legs. Okay, so we've taken our 4 bolts on each side, tighten those down. We're ready to go ahead and put the side covers in. Basically, these side covers are really cosmetic, but what we're going to do is we're going to go, there's 1 notch on the top, 2 notches on the bottom. We're just going to insert the 1 notch in the cross brace on the top and then drop in to those 2 notches on the bottom. Then it's secured with one of the smaller screws, one on this side, one on that side. Okay, so we've got the printer stand put together, all the bolts tightened down. We're not going to put the basket parts on just yet. We're basically at the point to where we're going to lift the printer up onto the printer stand. Just to reference, go back to the box. We've got one more box here that contains the ink cartridges as well as the actual print heads themselves, 3-inch core adapters. We're going to take that and kind of put it off to the side. Up here we've got our paper media guides that hook into the bottom of the printer, help the paper come out of the printer straight. We've got a swatch book and then the printer software as well on that side. So what we'll do is we'll take all of this off, discard the styrofoam as well as pulling out the bottom so that we can get to the handles on either side of the printer. When you're putting this on the printer or putting it on the stand, this is the actual back side of the stand now. You'll notice there's some white arrows on the cross brace. On the back side of the printer, we've also got matching white arrows that help us line up and position the actual printer onto the stand. I would recommend that you get some help with this. 2 people on either side is really going to be ideal. Can you do it with fewer? Maybe, but to be safe, you should do it with 2 people on either side of the printer. So we're going to go ahead and discard all of this packing material and go ahead and lift the printer up and attach it to the stand. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the printer on the stand. The printer attaches to the stand basically with 4 screws on either side of the printer. We'll just go ahead and take that tool again or drill, screw those screws into the base. You've got the rest of the contents of the basket here, and we'll get these screwed in and then continue and show you how to set up the basket. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the printer installed on the stand. We went ahead and rotated it 90 degrees so you can get a side view of both the bottom front leg and then also the bottom of the back of the leg as well, because we're going to go ahead and put the basket together at this point. We've got all the components here laid out on the ground. What we're going to start with is basically the arms. We've got 2 of these, one for the right, one for the left side. They're marked R and L, and again, as we're standing at the front of the printer, that is the right hand side as we're looking at the front of the printer. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and take this crossbar, and it is notched and keyed in the hole on this hole over here. So we'll just insert that and then get those notches in the key, and then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. For this video, I'm just going to go ahead and do the next step and then basically install this notch into the bottom crossbar, which has got a hole cut out for that notch. So I'll just slide that and then get that notch in there, and then this is secured to the leg with another one of these screws and the little tool, the Allen tool for that screw. So at that point we would go ahead and tighten that down, tighten that side down. We're going to skip ahead, and I'm just going to go to the back side here and then basically take this off at this point. But what we've got is we've got 2 pieces that make up each backside leg here. We'll go ahead and take this notch with the ring to the bottom, to the inside here, and then this just snaps down and clicks in there. And then we've got 2 posts along the bottom of the bracket, 2 holes on the back of the leg. We'll just seat that down there, and then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. So we've got both arms of the basket installed on the front with the cross brace. We also have both brackets installed on the left and right back leg. So we're going to go ahead and put the basket itself in. The way to orient this is basically if you find the side with the white tag, that basically is the front bottom of the basket. So the side with the little black strings, as you can see here, is the back side. So we'll go ahead and feed this through. I'm going to go ahead and attach the back side first. On the back side, those brackets have little grooves that allow us to put each end down into those grooves so that it rests there. And then we also have these black strings that hook onto these little hooks on those brackets that we installed a second ago. So once I get that, on either side we got a little tension here. We want to make sure that this back flap is kind of coming towards the back and not into the front so that the prints don't get tangled up in there. So on the front hand side, we'll take this crossbar, and these fit into these little arms. So we'll go ahead and snap those into place there. And what this allows us to do is go ahead and push these forward or swing all the way out and up like that. Okay? So you can either have it in the down position or in the up position. So I'm going to go ahead and swing this down. The last part to the assembly procedure is to go ahead and take this box, accessory box, line it up on the hole, and then basically screw it in with the last screw that you have. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and start working on the machine, getting the print heads loaded, the ink cartridges loaded, and as you can see, that big long box we've got opened up so that you can see we've got inks, print heads, and then the 3-inch core adapters for the printer. Before we turn the printer on, what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to remove any tape that is keeping this cover taped down, and then we're going to go ahead and lift this cover up. And there's a red tag that basically is attached to this orange piece that we need to go ahead and remove, and we're going to do that with the Allen tool. We'll just, right in the center of the orange piece is a screw that we're going to go ahead and unscrew. And then we're just going to turn this kind of to the left, counterclockwise, and pull it out. There's one more piece we need to go ahead and remove, and that's this blue foam that's under the print head assembly. We'll remove all of the orange tape that's inside of it, and then just go ahead and pull that over to the left. At this point, what we can do is go ahead and remove all of the rest of the packing tape and get ready to power it on and charge the system. Okay, so we went ahead and plugged in the printer to the AC outlet. The plug is on the back side of the printer. We're going to go ahead and power it up. We'll just hit the power button here on the front control panel. Since this is the first time we've set up the printer is going to step us through this process. On the LCD panel, it will tell us exactly what to do in terms of setting the language and the English and other settings, as well as when to install ink cartridges and the print heads. So the first question is what language we want to select. We'll go ahead and select English here. We'll just hit the OK button. The next thing it asks for is time zone. The default is Eastern Time in New York. That's where we're in Tampa, Florida, so we're on Eastern Time. We'll go ahead and select that. Once we do that, basically it's letting us know to go ahead and open up the the ink tanks so that we can install the inks. So again, the printer has told us to open up both ink covers. Here we've got a close-up shot of the right ink cover. We've lifted this up. We've also done the same thing over on the left-hand side. And we're going to go ahead and install the ink tanks. To do that, you've got each color labeled here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pinch. We're going to basically just pinch this, and that allows us to swing it up and out towards you. On the ink cartridges, we do want to shake the ink cartridge about 6 or 7 times to agitate the ink that's inside when we're installing a new ink cartridge, whether for the first time or if we're replacing inks. So we'll just open this up and then orient the label like this so we can read it from the front. This is the black. We'll match it up with the black. We'll drop it down in here, and then we'll just pick that up and then push down. And when we hear that click into place and then we see a red light on the ink tank indicator, basically that means the cartridge is recognized. So we're just going to continue on through the rest of the colors on this side, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the colors on the left side. The next one we've got here is red. Again, pinch, lift out, orient so you can read it towards the front, and then lift up, and then push down. All right, red light, we're good. We'll continue on with that process. All right, well, we've got all the ink tanks installed. We close the left side, close the right side, and then basically the printer will go ahead and prepare the carriage to allow us to install the print heads. So on the front panel, it'll actually say carriage is moving, please wait, and then it prompts us to go ahead and open up this cover. So what's happened is it's taken the carriage out from underneath the capping parking station and moved it over to the left so that we can install the print heads at this point. We're going to go ahead and walk through that process now. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the print head. The packages look like this. We'll open them up, and you'll notice that you've got some orange plastic pieces on these print heads. We want to grab the print head from the sides touching the black plastic. We don't want to touch anything that's basically underneath the orange components here. So I'll just swing that down, and I'll pop this orange piece off. Again, I'm not going to touch anything around this area. There's your actual print head nozzles right there. These are the electronic contacts for the print head communication with the printer. The print head carriage assembly is marked left and right. It's important to note that these heads are not left or right specific. So I can install this print head here, or I can install it here. It's the exact same print head. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up the blue cover, and I'm going to swing out this blue piece and then swing up this blue piece. So 3 steps. Then I'm going to grab the print head again from the sides, and I'm going to basically slide it down into place. All right, and then I'm going to swing that back down, that up, and it's basically installed at that point. So we'll do the exact same thing for the other print head. Pull the orange covers off. Again, those electronic contacts go towards the back. You'll actually see copper pins towards the back, so these match up with that. Grab it from the sides, slide it down in, swing that top down, swing this back in, close that, and then basically make sure that's nice and flush. Then I'll close the cover. Then basically the print head carriage will come back and seat itself back into the printer itself, or the parking station itself. Alright, so now that we've installed the print heads, the printer on the front panel is asking us to load paper. So first thing it asks is, are we loading roll or sheet? We're going to go ahead and load the roll that came with the printer. So I'll select roll, hit OK. Alright, at that point it's prompting us to go ahead and open up the cover. And then we're going to open up the ejection guide just by lifting it and then swinging it up. That exposes the spindle. The spindle comes out by lifting it up and out towards you. The spindle has a right and a left end cap. This is fixed. You can't move it. So that's the right side. The left side is adjustable. Basically, it will adjust to the width of the roll that you're loading in the machine. So we would adjust that. This is a lock lever, so now I can't adjust it. So to get the roll on, we're going to remove that left end cap. When I'm loading the paper, I always put the right end cap down towards the bottom, and then look at the top of the paper, and that top of the paper should be winding clockwise as you're looking down at it. So we'll just lift that up, put it in the spindle, make sure it's flush against that right end cap, take the left end cap, slide it down in, and then make sure it's flush, and then we'll go ahead and lock it with that lever. Looking at the front of the printer, just want to show you these 4 plastic pieces. When we insert the paper in, I want to make sure the paper is going up, over, on top of these black pieces, and then into the mouth of the printer. So we'll go ahead and insert that. We'll take this paper, which is very, very curly. This little sample demo roll they give you is very curly, so it's a little bit challenging to make sure you get it into that mouth. But once we do, we'll lift it up, and then you'll actually hear the vacuum of the printer grabbing it. All right, it actually senses the paper's there, and then it starts feeding the paper through the print path. Then it asks us to go ahead and lift this lever up right here, which is the roller lever that clamps the paper down. So we'll just go ahead and pull this out, and we're going to line it up. There's a red line here on the right-hand side of the platen and the ejection guide. We're going to pull it out, and we're going to line that right edge up so it's nice and flush and straight against that red line. Once I do that, I'll push the lever down, and then we'll close that, the lid. And the paper now asks what type of paper, or the printer now asks what type of paper it is. So I'm just going to go down to coated paper, and we'll select heavyweight coated paper. Once we select that, it's going to initiate the loading process for that roll paper. And that loading process, basically you'll see the paper moving in and out, and then it's going to check to make sure that it's straight. It will also measure the width of the paper. So it'll measure that this is a 36-inch roll, or if you had a 24-inch, it'll actually detect the width of that roll. When we finish loading the paper, the printer will automatically start charging the ink system, and on the front panel of the printer it'll say replenishing ink. This process will take anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes to complete the replenishing, the nozzle check, and all of that. What you want to make sure is don't lose power during this process. So if you have a building that tends to lose power here and there, make sure that the printer is plugged into a battery backup. You don't want to interrupt this process. So after the printer finishes charging the ink, it does an auto nozzle check to make sure that all the jets are firing through ink. Then it automatically kicks into an adjustment pattern that it will print to make sure that those heads are self-aligned and registered properly for all of the colors. Once this finishes, it'll go to the ready state, and basically that completes the initial setup of the printer itself. So after the print head alignment finishes, we're basically ready to print to the printer. However, there are a couple of things that you may want to do, including a calibration we're going to talk about in a second. But at this point, you can go ahead and connect the printer to either your computer or your network. The printer has both USB and Ethernet connections built in, so again, you can connect it directly to your computer via USB or choose Ethernet, just put it on your network and specify an IP address. You can specify that IP address right from the front panel of the printer. So you can go into the the setup menu and actually select the Ethernet and then specify a TCP IP address there right from the front panel of the printer. Along with the printer came a swatch book for some sample Canon papers. Important to note that you can use any kind of paper in this printer, any kind of inkjet paper. Epson actually works great in Canon printers. You can use the Canon paper, you can use Hahnemühle, Moab, Ilford. DTG sells a wide variety of medias at great prices, so don't hesitate to give us a call on those. We've got ICC profiles for all of those papers with the legacy printers, as well as we're going to be constantly building new profiles for the newer printers. So with the software, depending on your Mac or Windows, basically you can install the driver software as well as Poster Artist Lite, which is a kind of a nice little easy to use template driven poster creation software. The software also contains a gallery wrap feature and plug-in for Photoshop. Gives you a free layout tool to nest multiple images together, and a couple of other options as far as that color management console that allows you to calibrate and link multiple printers in a color calibrated mode. Day-to-day operation, basically, obviously you're going to be loading roll paper. We showed you how to do that. You can also load sheet paper in this, one sheet at a time. One other important thing to talk about is the maintenance tank. The maintenance tank is a tank that is used to collect ink that the printer basically doesn't use in a cleaning. For example, it basically in a cleaning it spits ink through the head. That ink has to go somewhere, and it goes right into the maintenance tank. And that's accessed on the right side with this flip down. And then you've got this box right here, which is the complete maintenance tank. You can order those in. You'll probably go through, depending on your usage, one of those every 6 to 9 months or so, again, depending on your usage. So those are real easy to replace. With Canon printers, you do replace the print heads eventually. These print heads are thermal-based print heads, not piezo print heads like in Epson. So the thermal print heads, they will tend to degrade over time. Pros and cons to that, basically the pros are they're user replaceable. You saw how easy it was to install those print heads, and you can do it. You don't have to make a service call to replace the print head. But the con is you will be replacing there, in that there is a cost associated with that. Again, just give us a call at DTG and we can give you a great price on a replacement print head. Again, day-to-day operation, the front panel The load button allows you to load the roll, and the printer is intelligent. It walks you through loading those things. You've got a cut button on the front. You've got obviously the power button, and then you've got the main menu. The main menu allows you to go in and do things like nozzle checks just to make sure that your printer is operating correctly. However, the Canon printers really are intelligent. Their auto nozzle check works really, really well, and it will periodically self-check its nozzles and make sure that everything is firing. So you're not going to be spending a whole lot of time on the front panel because most of your work and your color is really controlled from your computer workstation, whether that's Windows or Mac. In a sense, that's basically it. Now, one more thing I'm going to talk about on the loading of the roll media. You do have these 3-inch adapters. The initial roll that we put on the printer is a 2-inch roll. Some of your media, like your fine art papers and your heavyweight photo papers, will come on 3-inch cores, and these just snap on to those end caps on the spindle. So on the left and on the right, and that adjusts to a 3-inch core. So that's basically it on easy overview on day-to-day operation. What we're going to do next is go over an optional calibration routine that we recommend that you do so you make sure that the printer is printing optimally. So we're going to go ahead and go into a calibration on the printer. While this is not necessary to produce sellable prints, if you want the best possible prints, then I would recommend doing this, especially when you first install the printer. And you can periodically do this also down the road, both from the front panel and from the software as well. So what does this do? This basically brings the printer back to a known calibrated state, basically an optimal state that it is supposed to print in. And things like temperature, humidity can actually cause a printer to print a little bit differently. And by doing this calibration in your environment, you're making sure that this printer is printing exactly the way that it's supposed to do. So let's go ahead and walk through that. We need to have a Canon-based paper loaded in the printer initially. We can do this for custom papers down the road, but initially we need to have a Canon-based paper. We're going to use that heavyweight coated paper that came with the printer. So basically, I'm going to go into the front panel, and I'm going to scroll over to the 4th menu item into the maintenance, and then basically the adjustment menu, and then go down to adjust printer, hit OK, then go down to calibration, hit OK, and then automatically highlighted is the auto adjust option. When I click OK on that, it's going to initiate the calibration procedure. So what's happening here is it's going to print out a series of steps and ink densities, and then actually measure that with that new multi-sensor. And it's going to measure that, feed it back to the printer. The printer knows what those values should be. More than likely, the printer is printing slightly different from the factory. So what it's going to do is it's going to self-adjust and build a calibration table to optimize that ink going down on the paper in your environment. So this is a good thing to do. Again, you don't have to do this, but if you want the best possible prints, we definitely recommend going through this step. Okay, so that completes our setup and installation video of the new Canon iPF8400 printer. Again, this is Scott at DTG, and please don't hesitate to give us a call or visit www.dtgweb.com for ink, paper, consumables, hardware, or simply advice and support documents on all of this equipment for photography, fine art, proofing, pre-press, or any signage or printing output. We do offer to our customers free of charge custom ICC profiles. Try out our new HDR profiles for expanded color gamut and tonality and shadows. Please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-681-0024. Thanks a lot.